Porto 3, Man United 3. Harry Maguire coming on the 70th minute alongside Johnny Evans. The most thrilling bit of sports entertainment we've seen recently.
Well, he also made the most of it, didn't he, Vitushan?
He did.
Yeah.
Scored.
He did. Yeah, he did score,
With his bonds.
This was a remarkable game of football, wasn't it?
It was.
Absolutely incredible game.
I think
2-0 up after 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they couldn't see it closed.
So Manchester United have scored 12 goals in their last 4 European away games, going 2-0 up in 3 of them. They haven't won any of them. And the worst thing was, Adam Crafton, off the back of a tweet from Rob Dawson, I'll just read them out. Just in Europe, since the start of last season, Man United have conceded 2 goals in 4 minutes against Bayern, 2 in 10 against Galatasaray, 2 in 4 against Copenhagen, 2 in 9 against Galatasaray again, 2 in 7 against Porto on Thursday night. Since Boxing Day, they've also done this in the league. 2 in 8 minutes against Palace, 2 in 8 minutes against Coventry, 2 in 2 minutes against Chelsea, 3 in 24 minutes against Wolves, 2 in 11 minutes against Newport, 2 in 5 minutes against Aston Villa. And I didn't see that tweet originally. Do you know how I heard about all those stats? Jules Breach read them out before the start of the second half. I deliberately ignored the halftime, analysis because I was like, there's only so many cigarettes you can have in 15 minutes. You've got to get started early. And I came back and she was reading that out.
She's got to do it somewhere, Vish.
Can I just
It's either there or your WhatsApp.
From a distance,
True.
still.
Genuinely, does being a Man United fan make you smoke more cigarettes at the moment?
Or does it make you feel like you've got a mental issue that you think the television is talking to you specifically?
In Jules' case, she might be.
Yeah.
And they obviously play Aston Villa next, don't they, mate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who are a good team.
I would just say of all there has been a comical amount of shit.
Are you going to damn them? Are you going to damn them with faint praise?
No, but that was, I think it obviously depends on the result, doesn't it? But there are parts of that were fun.
Yes. Well, I would say
And there was a bit of,
Always, though.
No, not really. No,
Right.
because at least there was that little period at the beginning to enjoy because United played pretty well.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were the beneficiaries of 2 pretty piss poor pieces of goalkeeping,
Which I hold Andy Brassel personally responsible for.
exactly. Yeah, as we all
Big
do.
fan of Diogo Costa, aren't you?
You're welcome.
But the lead up to those efforts were good moves. Things looked pretty sensible. There was a moment where it seemed like they'd calmed the crowd a little bit because Porto weren't actually that good up to that point. And then it fell apart, and then Harry Maguire scores. So, yeah, very strange.
I mean, we talk about the statistics, and I really can't say the word statistics. It's really problematic.
Try again.
Statistics.
It's like Lemmy trying to say purple burglar alarm.
I can't say emergency either sometimes in a voiceover.
How long have you been broadcasting now?
Ages.
Too long, isn't it?
But since here's one for you. Since Erik ten Hag joined Man United in 2022, no Premier League club has conceded 3 or more goals in a match in all competitions than Man United.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, 24 times. His tenure at Manchester United has been criticised quite rightly, but that has to be the most damning one out of all of the statistics.
He can't set a team up. He cannot set a team up. I was saying this on the WhatsApp
do it for 10
last
minutes.
night. I was doing a couple of bits on WhatsApp last night, a bit of my shtick, trying to get Vish to tempt him out of Vish out of his depression cave. And you did snap a little bit when I said they're a mid-table team now and it's Ten Hag's fault. You're upset about that.
It's just that it's not Ten Hag's fault.
It's partly, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's partly like everyone who's come before him as well.
But what he can't do is what I find really, really odd about the fact that given Man United are such a big club is that he obviously can't set a team up. So basically, because the resources they've got and the players they've got as part of those resources, they can fudge their way to wins. They can sometimes look all right. They have individual players that have
Which is how it was under Solskjaer.
Yeah, I think it's probably fair, right? But in terms of setting a team up, they can't do it. And not only that, but Ten Hag will answer questions in post-match interviews where the interviewer will say to him, it looks really weird that you only half the team pressed and you didn't seem to have a trigger for the press and you weren't able to do it and it made it easy for the other team. Are you telling your players to do that? And he'll go, no. It's like, so you're basically admitting that the players don't listen to anything you fucking say. And then a video does the rounds a week or two ago with Garnacho just obviously not listening to him, or at least looking like he's not listening to him. And Garnacho's one of the few players I would say in this current era that deserves a little bit of credit. He's actually been okay. I find it strange that the hierarchy at Man United kind of put up with it, because next up in the Europa League they've got Fenerbahce away. I don't know what that's going to be like, but it's going to be amazing.
Entertaining.
Yeah. And then they've got Pauk at home. And nothing has got like neon lights over it as a sackable game. They're like Pauk at home in November.
Maybe for the Fenerbahce game, Jose Mourinho could put some clips of Manchester United winning the FA Cup final on his laptop and stick those in front of the broadcast.
That'd be brilliant.
Well, Andy, you said on the WhatsApp group that the arse end of his Ajax managerial career, defensively, they were shocking.
Yeah, for the last 6 months, that's absolutely fell to bits. And,
Is that because he had his head turned, or what were the circumstances?
No, well, it was strange because obviously there'd been a bit of turnover in the team as well in terms of players. But
Was it when they lost Van der Beek?
yeah, but they started to get found out defensively, and he had no way to deal with that. Teams started to have a go at them.
Right.
And he just couldn't figure it out. And, they were in a good enough position that it didn't really matter in the end of that season, although it did mean they didn't go as far as they might have done in the Champions League. It's one of those things a little bit like Jurgen Klopp came to Liverpool with like a sort of big question mark over him. Because in that last season at Dortmund, inferior teams would come to Dortmund, get everyone behind the ball, and he wouldn't be able to figure it out. And you're like, yeah, that's going to be problematic at Anfield. And gradually, Klopp finds a way to figure that out.
Yeah.
But Ten Hag, who's obviously not the equal of Klopp as a coach, has never really found a way to get past that thing that was lingering from the end of his Ajax.
I think, if he gets through the international break, which presumably you think he will, right?
No, well, I mean, I'd like him not to.
No, but do you think he will?
Yeah, well, I think he will for a couple of reasons very quickly, because obviously you started this point. But I think for a couple of reasons, because Ineos don't like spending money, little things like, spending money on things that they can avoid spending money on. So I don't include transfers in that, but I do include, stopping people from working from home, that kind of stuff. But
limited sandwiches.
Yeah, limited sandwiches as well.
Having to eat your sandwiches in the toilet as well?
No. If you bring them from home, you can have as many sandwiches as you want.
No, but you have to eat them inside the toilet.
Oh, I see.
Not inside the toilet, inside the room.
Talking like train spotting.
Yeah.
And also the fact that sacking Ten Hag will cost 15 million. And
yeah, but that's
I don't know that they're going to do that.
They say that
15.
15, 1-5.
Right. But they the way they'll do that though is they'll only pay him his regular wage until he gets another job. Though, so it probably won't end up being.
It'll be a
but it's the way they've been picking through the smaller numbers suggests that is a number that jars to them.
Let me just make this point I was going to make. If they do get through the international break, I think it's fair to say that in 3 weeks yesterday they'll play Fenerbahce and Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. I think if you're Erik Ten Hag, you would rather play any other team and any other manager than that, no matter how good they are, than the Mourinho's Fenerbahce. That is the dictionary definition of the worst game he could have.
Oh, he's in PC World now buying laptops to just shove in front of cameras.
Well, I mean, it's a great example, isn't it, of one of the side issues with Ten Hag is, I suppose, like media portrayal, And Mourinho will know that. And the build up to that game starts now,
Probably, yeah.
But I guess the thing is with Ten Hag, and Vish and I talked about it in the back end of last season, he does have great human shield quality if you're Ineos. Because
you already said that,
You have to wonder, like, if they fire him, you may think, okay, he hasn't done well enough, it's not really improving, so he has to go. But what does it actually achieve? Does it make United good enough that they're going to qualify for the Champions League this season? Like, probably not.
No
way. No way.
Let's be honest. So it's not just about spending that money that it costs to sack him. Does it, A, improve them significantly, B, make the club money in the medium term by getting them in the competitions they want to be, and C, and perhaps most importantly, keep the heat off the board? Because you don't really want to draw the attention to yourself. If you fire
that's not a long-term plan, though.
No, sure, but in the medium or short and medium term, if you fire Ten Hag and his staff and get in like Max Allegri or whoever else, and it takes ages to get better, people stop looking at the coach and they start looking at the board, and that is not what you want.
Yeah, because if you, it's the age-old saying, isn't it? That if someone needs to be fired after 2 or 3 weeks, it's your fault. If they have to be fired after 3 years, it's their fault.
The board still have a relative grace period at the moment because people think, well, they're better than the Glazers, and there is, the sense that they might be running things a little bit more competently in the transfer market. But how United actually are on the pitch, I think, actually militates for keeping Ten Hag, because it's like, well, it's going to take so long For the moment, from the board's perspective, I wouldn't want to fire him.
Who's out there? Who's out there to come in?
Anyone.
Yeah. But the question is a lot of the people I've seen ask the question who would be better than him. The question should be who would be worse than him, because the profile of people who Man United are going to go after, they're not just going to hire anyone because they're Manchester United. It's hard to make an argument given what you're seeing on the pitch, not just last night, but against Spurs as well, where it's just so bad. I mean, you could just see it a mile off. Even a Potter or perhaps an Allegri, you'd fancy him at least to be slightly better, no matter what position they're in, because it's going to be a new broom, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be, providing that the hierarchy's there behind them to support them, like they would be better. And your point about using him as a firewall, I get it, but you can't do that forever. Well, I would argue actually the fact they're using him as a firewall is part of the problem, because he's obviously not up to it.
Totally.
And it becomes convenient to them that he's not up to it, but also it completely undermines everything else that's happening.
I mean, he's in an impossible situation, because really you would probably like to be out of there with like a nice payoff. Because
we could resign.
It's not going to come, but you can't. You can't.
Why?
Don't get your money.
It'll just make him look. You'll lose the money and it'll make you look ridiculous.
Where does he go next?
I could resign in the toilet like Keegan.
Oh, we can't have Erik ten Hag looking ridiculous, can we? I mean, whatever next.
Well, a lot of Man United fans were really upset that he brought off Marcus Rashford at half time.
It might have been an injury, though. I don't think.
He said it wasn't.
So he said he obviously rinsed his own player. Vish, you're forgetting who you're talking to. He said
who firewalls the firewall?
Who firewalls the firewall? Yeah, he wasn't injured when he brought him off at half time. It was just for rotation. He said, I think over the left, we definitely didn't defend well tonight, and Marcus Rashford also played a part in this. But as I say, I had to do with Garnacho, and I wanted him on the pitch. And people have pointed out that Garnacho's defensive stats are about the same, if not worse, than Marcus Rashford. So it's a shame, because you feel like after his goal against Southampton last month, wasn't it? He was kind of turning a corner, Marcus Rashford, and he was playing well. He was playing well in this match. He was threatening, and so that's why it was such a surprise that he came off at half time. But if you're an incoming Manchester United manager, and I agree, I don't think they'll change in the international break. Is there an argument to sort of base your team around firing Marcus Rashford, a homegrown player, effectively?
There is an argument for that.
Who is unencumbered by a shoulder injury, you kind of almost think?
There is an argument for that, but I don't think it happens under Ten Hag.
No.
And if that,
I don't think it's a particularly strong argument, though, is it?
Because I guess that's modern football for you. That realistically, a huge part of whether you keep a coach or not is he protecting the value of the assets in the team? And clearly, in the case of Rashford is worth. I know it shouldn't be just about this for Man United, and it isn't just about this for Man United, but Rashford is objectively worth a lot less than when Erik ten Hag took over.
Yeah,
that is a huge problem.
And it's part
if you're trying to defend him.
And a lot of that's Ten Hag's fault, by the way, because if you're talking about you're talking about
rinsing the players every time.
Well, not just that, but if
I think that is important.
You mentioned the goal he scored against Southampton. He followed that up with an amazing performance in the League Cup. I find it was against Barnsley, but they smashed him, and Rashford was brilliant. And what does he do? He follows up with a game away at Crystal Palace, which they didn't win, by the way, and he doesn't play him. And then he comes out again and says, I didn't play him because we wanted to rotate and keep him fresh. It's like, well, you just had an international break, and it's the start of the season.
Didn't go to the Euros.
He's had the summer off. He's absolutely flailing around. And it seems like every decision he makes, it just seems like it's got an undercurrent of tragedy to it. And I don't think, I mean, Vish will tell us how he feels about it, but Sunday afternoon against Aston Villa, I mean, given how they performed against Spurs, and I would say Villa are a better team than Spurs, and possibly even better suited to rinse Man United, it's not going to be pretty if it carries on the way it's going.
I think the Rashford thing is interesting because I think he had his best season for a long, long time in Ten Hag's first season. And I think they're trying to push him to be a more consistent player. And he just isn't at this point. And it feels strange that they're still trying to force it. And it's not just a Ten Hag problem. People have tried to do it before. Even the fact that you come into the season, I appreciate it's because Højlund was injured and Xerxes was, not quite match fit. But the idea that there were still pieces and, quotes here and there talking about playing him through the middle. It's like, how many times do we have to try that? Like, the guy's basically been around for a decade. We know where he plays. Yeah. Know where his best position is and stuff like that.
What about Villa, though, Vish?
Well, on the Villa game, it's it's interesting because all the spaces that Spurs exploit, Villa, at this point in time, exploit them better.
Definitely.
You think of all the running room that Morgan Rogers is going to get, like Watkins bullying a couple of defenders. Martinez and De Ligt haven't been great in the last couple of weeks.
De Ligt had a really bad game last night.
Yeah, he looks quite flat-footed in part, and I can understand that because there's nothing in front of you. What are you going to do?
The second or the third goal, I forget which one it was now, he was really flat-footed. And Martinez got outrun for one of those goals as well.
Yeah, for the first one.
And you kind of think with Martinez, you think you're not physically big, you're not commanding in that way, so you need to be able to read the game, you need to be quick.
But I think as well, you look, it's like Vish says, you look at the midfield that is in front of them starting that game. And maybe you could get away with that playing a Portuguese club away like 6 to 8 years ago. But now, the best Portuguese teams in Europe, they're quite physical. I mean, in fact, that's something that Porto have. They don't have the excellence of great Porto sides. I mean, you see Villas-Boas up there in the director's box, and when he's not sort of, with his fire extinguisher putting out various financial infernos, he must be thinking, the team I had when I was in charge of it is like so much better. You think he had Hulk, Moutinho, Falcao, all those players. They got nothing like that now, even though I do expect a Premier League club to sign Samu for like 60 million.
Yeah, but Villa got a lot of weapons, and the different and the reason that Man United's performance against Spurs was embarrassing rather than catastrophic was because Spurs didn't take their chances. And you can't really level that charge at Villa's door. I know Watkins missed a few chances early on, but overall they find a way to get it done. They're a better team than Spurs. So it could be... What I would say, finally, before we move on, I suppose, is just that sometimes Man United have a habit of just putting a fire out quietly with a kind of inconsequential, quiet 1-0 win that no one's really expecting. It tends to happen on a Saturday, 3:00, and no one can watch it. So
after Villa have kind
Sunday
of,
afternoon might not be the same thing.
Well, after Villa have had such a important week in their recent history, I think
it'd be buzzing.
It may be after the Lord Mayor's show, though.
Could
you
be.
Never know.
Great to hear that phrase, though. You don't hear it as much these days.
Well, apparently, John Duran's lob against Bayern Munich was planned, according to Unai Emery. Planned is as in you put a player who does that all the time on the pitch. That feels more planned.
And that was covered. But it was covered in a way that seemed to suggest that Unai Emery was the only person in the world that knew that Manuel Neuer spends a lot of time on the pitch. Like, he had been doing it for like 20 years.
Well, coming up after this, a Welsh team play Fiorentina. This is not a pizza, this is a rarebit. What is a rarebit?
Can it be AC/DC?
Back in black, managing 600 weeks in the Billboard 200 this year.
That was Hell's Bells, that song, wasn't it? I think
I believe it was. You could hear the bell just beginning. Well done, AC/DC.
Yeah, and well done, Ali McCoist.
Well done, Ali McCoist. I'd love to see Ali McCoist in a child's, it's like a child's page boy kind of school uniform. Yeah,
it took you ages to say the word school uniform.
You had to get there quicker. Jeez, I'm so worried when that was going.
Welsh side, the New Saints FC played two-time finalists Fiorentina in the Europa Conference League. They are the first ever side playing in the Welsh League to make it through to European competition. They went down 2-0, but it was goalless for 65 minutes. And they're playing their home matches at the Shrews, which is very exciting.
I know,
that is exciting.
Is that not a shame that it's not inside the border, though?
It is, but it's also the most exciting thing to ever happen in Shropshire. So, I also love the fact that New Saints used to be called Total Network Solutions, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which was the absolute apex of Soccer Saturday under Jeff Stelling, who every time they scored would say they'll be dancing on the streets of Total Network Solutions this afternoon.
Yes.
Deo 96 was a big Pro Evo team for me.
Oh, is that the same team?
No, I think it's a Korean. Obviously,
but they called Deo. Oh, that's nice.
It's like RB Leipzig. You've got to find something to fit in the acronym, haven't you?
Exactly. But, is it fair to say that obviously Fiorentina won the game, but it was quite one-way traffic?
It was quite one-way traffic, but they survived for 65 minutes, and who knows what's going to happen in that. We know what's going to happen in But Fiorentina are playing AC Milan this weekend. TNS are playing Britain Ferry Lansawel rather.
You can do the Welsh because your mother's famously Welsh.
Yeah, well, I mean, producer Rory's written it phonetically as Hansawel. It's not a H, is it? Unbelievable.
It's actually pronounced Aoife.
Is it?
Elsewhere, Ange Postecoglou started an incredibly young team against Ferencváros, which included 4 teenagers. 17-year-old Mikey Moore started. They are playing Brighton versus Spurs at the weekend. I don't think he's going to play in that match, Lukey Moore. Do you feel like an affinity with players who have similar names to you?
Similar names or the same name?
Or the same name?
Yeah.
Well, Mikey Moore?
The answer's no.
No.
Not particularly.
Maggie Moo, she's a vegetarian. She don't eat meat, but she sure like the bone rough.
What's that from?
Can't remember the band. Dead-Eye Dick. Dead-Eye Dick.
They related by. Speaking of bands, we found out live in the studio this morning that Pete's famous pop punk band One Eyed Willie, who never got the credit they deserved, were
Never
once
did.
supported by Kasabian.
On an all day.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, the positioning was very. Presumably, they played earlier in the day than us.
Yeah.
But we were playing at 1 p.m.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
an amazing claim to fame.
It does matter.
Could I answer the question?
Yes.
Is that all right? I think Mikey Moore's a brilliant young prospect, and I think that it was a great result for Spurs.
It was. They survived an early scare, but a really fun little match, this.
The big takeaway, you guys, is that Spurs had a player playing for them, a young teenager called William Lancashire, who sounds basically like he should be participating in like a medieval
It's
tourney
Game of Thrones,
to win a
isn't it?
fair maiden, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So
or
William
LARPing.
Lancashire, yeah.
Shouldn't you be LARPing?
Yeah.
Yeah, Timo Werner once again flattering to deceive. I wish he'd deceive the goalkeeper once in a while, I'll tell you what. Brennan Johnson has now scored 5 goals in 5, more goals than he managed in the whole of last season.
I did enjoy the little mock-up of him on Spurs socials with him as a World Cup Ronaldo from 2002.
Right,
Nice.
okay. I like that.
Oh, the hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, big fan of
He's
that.
still not as cool as his dad, though, is he?
Oh, no way.
And that's the problem.
No way.
No.
When your dad's in the crowd and he's cooler than you, it's very, very difficult.
What
But
does his dad do? What does his dad look like?
His dad used to play
his
for
dad used to play for
Forest.
Forest.
Yeah, but what does he look like in the crowd?
Just
You
looks like a
say-
cool old bloke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool coat he had on
Yeah,
during
well
the United
dressed.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
A cool court.
Yeah. But
Pascal-
I think Pete, before you move on, I was going to say that Brennan Johnson has now. Did you say he scored more goals than the whole of last season?
more
He's
goals
hit an
than he's scored.
incredible amount of form. He looks really busy, really, really good. He looks decent.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say? Because that's quite a few matches now. They're putting on a run together at Spurs, and yet I think pundits are still talking about them being quite underwhelming. But it's starting to sort of kick into gear.
Well, I felt like it's so funny how quickly things turn around, because 5 games ago now, if you include the League Cup, they lost to Arsenal at home. The atmosphere wasn't great. They looked bad. They looked like it was men against boys, really. Arsenal were obviously brilliant defensive, and Spurs didn't really have any answers. And a lot of people were thinking, how many of these forward attacking players are actually decent? You know, what can they? Because the problem is with Ange's system, if you don't score goals, you're really in big trouble, because they don't really keep that many clean sheets.
Yeah.
Since then, they've won every game and they've looked decent for the most part. I know they kind of faltered a little bit against Coventry, but they got that done.
I mean, that was a horrendous performance.
But since then they won the game,
Yeah.
and since then they've done well. So
you get the sense that they'll put this one to bed. Surely.
Brighton away is a different type of challenge. I think Brighton have also got a few question marks over them, haven't they? Because Hertzler said after the game against Chelsea, where they looked horrendous at the back, they got really, really exploited the way they defended.
They're all vegetarians. Brighton FC. Brighton FC.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah.
You saw the interview, yeah. And he said, and Hertzler said himself, "I need to speak to my players and work out how best to sort this out." And so we'll see what happens. But they've got some question marks.
It'll be crowded on that halfway line, won't
It
it?
seems like it will be.
Certainly will.
Certainly seems like it will be.
A pretty exciting scenes for Dominic Solanke. He's called up to the England squad for the first time in 7 years yesterday. Not welcome international break, has to be said. But, I mean, but it'd be fun if he gets a cap now and then gets another when he's 34 and he gets 3 caps. That's
done.
all he gets.
It's like you drinking water.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, 1 glass of water every 7 years.
What happens every 7 years? It's like there's something that happens every 7 years. I can't remember.
Halley's Comet.
I was hoping somebody was going to help me out there.
Halley's
but
Comet, I think.
Okay.
No,
Halley's Comet.
That's
No,
every
all right.
30 years or something.
All right, fair. Well, how do you see this one going then? You say that it might be a tricky away tie for the Spurs boys.
I think it's a different type of challenge,
Mm.
but I think if Brighton show defensively what they showed against Chelsea, it could be fun for Spurs. But at the same time, Spurs can't keep clean sheets themselves, really. So, but on the Solanke thing, I think it's good that he's been called up for the national team. I actually think he's been really good at Spurs. He hasn't scored that many goals, but he's led the line so well.
And they start with an injury as well. I mean,
Yeah.
to fit in that quickly, I think he's
Who's he
quite
replacing?
impressive.
Is he like a Brentford to the UAE striker replacement, would you say?
Oh, it could be. It could be. Look, I think Carsley's just going. He's at the start of his managerial career at England. He's going for players on form.
Yeah.
He's obviously picked a couple of left field choices in his first squad. He's repeated that this time around. And I said before that if he was really treating this job as being a custodian until the next person comes along, I don't think he would have picked the squads he's picked.
Yeah.
So I think he's obviously still making a play for it. The games they've got aren't really a huge challenge. And it's a very unwelcome international break. And I think if Lee Carsley was even being honest with himself, he'd agree with that.
wouldn't want to do it.
I'm enjoying the Premier League. What am I doing?
Do you think like having like a team full of in-form firing players is just a lot more daunting for squads who have to face you, rather than just sort of going, right, these are good hands for England, they've always been really reliable? There's this unpredictability with players who are really on form.
I know what you mean. You've got to find that balance. And, of course, there's the fact that, I guess, juxtaposed to that, international coaches are intrinsically conservative. And I think people are only just starting to realise that. I mean, everyone battered Gareth Southgate for it, and it's like, it's exactly what international coaches
squads do,
managers are like.
What I would do if I were Carsley is I would play Cole Palmer in the hole. I would tell Harry Maguire that despite scoring the last minute equaliser, he's still not getting called back up. It's been a bit of an in and out thing for him because he didn't make it in the summer and he gets called up in the first one and now he doesn't get called up again. And I was also surprised to see James Maddison not be called up because he's been given a little bit of rope. Obviously didn't make the summer because he's been such bad form, but he's actually started picking up form again, but he didn't make it either. But the problem is they've got so many.
He would have brought his dartboard, though, wouldn't he?
Probably would have done. Yeah, probably would have done.
It's not that kind of part.
But I think they've got to the point now where I think Palmer's earned the right to start and start in a position he wants to start in and see how we go. Yeah, they have to do that, I think, now.
Well, Chelsea beat Ghent 4-2 last night in the Europa Conference League. Ida Gudjonsson's son started the game. Ida was watching in the stands.
That's very cool.
Which is lovely. Where's Arnaud? Where's Dad?
Yeah, he came on for his dad, didn't he, for Iceland back in the day?
Yeah,
because people always say that like it's the only father and son duo ever to play international football together. They didn't. They replaced each other.
Yeah.
So
But they were so as the laws of the game stand,
they did play with each other.
No, careful. Ida wouldn't have been able to step on the pitch until his dad stepped off it. So I think you're correct. There.
Yeah.
So they were part of the same squad.
They were.
Few robust challenges in training, I reckon.
I think one of Arnaud's kid is called Arnaud as well.
Right.
So there's a lot of Arnauds kicking around as well.
Yeah.
So he could technically play with Arnaud Gudjonsson, but not really.
No, okay.
Well,
thanks for that.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Andrew was quite close to scoring, wasn't he?
He was.
In the first half.
They're playing Forest.
Yeah.
Forest at the weekend, Sunday at 2 p.m. Chelsea have scored 17 goals in their past 4 games. One of those was against Barrow. So they've absolutely put teams to the sword.
It's the funny thing, isn't it? Because you look at this game against Ghent, which in and of itself was, I thought, a really exciting game. I really enjoyed it. And of course, because Chelsea have got this incredibly deep squad, you get to see some really good players doing their stuff. Now, there was a lot of chat beforehand about leaving out Cole Palmer, protecting him, protecting Fofana, and all the rest of it. But whether you're protecting them or not, it's just a really healthy thing for the squad. Chelsea in the Conference League does not make any sort of sense at all.
They've got the squad for it.
Yeah, exactly. Until you sit down and see them actually using the players. And you think, oh, yeah, they have got Keenan Dewsbury Hall. Yeah.
Who scored.
Yeah, and played really well as well.
And Pedro Neto got a goal, which is important for him.
Yeah.
Nkunku scored again. Renato Vega, who was a player I quite simply never heard of, scored as well.
Great knee skid as well.
It was.
Great knee skid.
Which is a lot of people criticise the knee slide. They say too many players are doing it. To which I would say, if you are going to do it, you've got to do it well.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
You've got to assess the.
Where you have that little bump and flip over like a fish.
That's not what you want. That's not textbook knee sliding.
There's a girl band out in Japan called AKB 48, Akihabara 48, and there's loads of different bands, but they all have 48 members, if not more.
48
members, and you can go to one of the theatres in Akihabara and see 5 or 6 of them at any time doing shows and stuff.
But you never get all of them at once. Maybe in a music video or something.
Like the Polyphonic Spree.
But
they always turn up. All of them turn up.
Not all together, do they?
I saw them play all together.
Whenever you see that, but only at the big gig, surely you would be looking at that and going, overheads, guys, overheads.
Oh, yeah.
I think they've guested on a few shows where not all of them have been on.
Yeah.
I definitely saw them at the Portsmouth Pyramid Centre and all of them were there in their cloaks.
In the pyramid.
Yeah, it was Portsmouth Pyramid Centre.
Unwelcome.
Let's
you don't want to
talk
see
about
it,
Wu-Tang at Brixton, where it was Capadonna and a couple of roadies.
That's not what you want. That's why I didn't include Wu-Tang in that because they.
Well, I saw Wu-Tang in a Tiny Desk concert, that video a while back, and it was young DB was in there.
Oh,
Yeah, they basically just got
lovely.
young DB in there to do ODB impression.
Has he got a lovely, sweet singing voice?
He sounds exactly like his dad, really.
Love to
Anyway,
see that.
also on the Chelsea thing, they used one of their many, many goalkeepers as well, didn't they? Which is obviously pleasing.
Yeah. How many goalkeepers they got?
I think they've got, I mean,
48.
in their established squad, I think they've got 4, but I think they've famously got 8 on the
Yeah.
books, I think.
You see,
Yeah.
they've got to be careful there because Bordeaux, who we were talking about with Andy Carroll a couple of weeks ago, they finally won a game last weekend in the early rounds of the French Cup.
Yeah.
Won 5-0, and they brought on their sub-goalkeeper, Over Mandanda, who's one of the younger brothers of Steve Mandanda.
Is it Parfait?
No, Over, his name is.
Parfait is one of the...
Yeah, Parfait is one of them. He's the second one.
Perfect Mandanda.
And
Great.
you'd be gutted if you're called Steve. And your younger brother's called Perfect.
We call this one. Why don't we just have fun with the others?
And so they brought over Mandanda on as an outfield player in the 89th minute. And
Are you allowed to do that? I thought you had to be registered as a goalkeeper in that.
well, no, that's what the other team are complaining.
Oh,
And
right.
They want, despite the fact they're losing 5-0 in the 89th minute, they want Bordeaux thrown out the cup because they brought on a goalkeeper as an outfield player.
I thought you were allowed to do that.
No, I think they've got to be registered differently because remember
David James.
Remember North Korea? Yeah.
Remember North Korea?
It probably depends on the competition, maybe. But North Korea tried to name another striker as their third goalkeeper, didn't they? And then FIFA said, "Well, good luck with that. He's not playing
Fun.
unless he's in goal."
Well, maybe that's why the women's team is so good at the moment.
I thought to myself, that's the perfect role for me.
What do you mean?
In a World Cup squad, but not be
Bad at
allowed to
both.
play. I just want to be part of it. Now. I want to be part of it.
Do I get a medal?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You get nowhere near the podium. Chelsea, Nottingham Forest. You would fancy a home win here, but Evangelos Marinakis has been charged by the FA for improper conduct after Forest defeat against Fulham last week. Does that man ever have proper conduct?
I love the improper conduct charge. The FA have gone, you just look at him.
Look at him. He's an improper man.
It's improper.
He's improper.
It's instantly improper.
I mean, it's a sideshow that quite a busy Forest squad don't need, Andy. It's a shame, really.
No, I mean...
I don't think does it register on their radar?
Probably not.
Right. What, he just buzzes around and
Oh
they
yeah,
just like really...
the mad cunt's doing mad shit.
Doesn't matter, does it?
I'm interested to know exactly how he got into this trouble because, of course, against Fulham last season was where he threw his accreditation in that hedge. I don't know if this
hedge,
time
in a
because,
hedge is such a
because
lovely image, though.
Morgan Gibbs-White was suspended.
Yeah.
Maybe he fished it out the hedge for him, thinking, "It's all right, boss, I'll save you."
If that is,
So,
you look at Marinakis, you go, that is a man who definitely litters. and this would back it up.
I don't know why, but I have an image of Marinakis with an iced lolly in his front shirt pocket. I don't know why. He just looks
Like
like
a lollipop.
no, an ice lolly,
Right.
like a mivvy or something. I don't know why that.
What's a mivvy?
It's an ice lolly.
Orange ice
An
lolly
orange
with
ice
ice
lolly.
cream in the middle.
Yeah, just upside down in his front pocket.
Why would he do
I think
that?
it would add to his kind of like slightly untidy, angry look. Like he'd been eating ice lolly, popped it in his front pocket, and he just starts screaming at the referee because he's upset about a decision or something. Speaking of officiating, Lucky Moore, 2 identical twins were refereeing in Girona versus Feyenoord in the Champions League this week. Marco Zucca and Benjamin Zurka.
Speaking of officiating, by which you mean officiating an ice lolly into your top pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
By the way, there's 2 identical twins that are refereeing.
I mentioned that he got upset.
Is this just
at the referees.
this show is just your mood board, isn't it?
It is. I've got
these
little
guys-
red
Talking
bits of
about,
twine.
are you talking about this Japanese
Little
band?
red bit of twine just sort of floating around.
If the the Zurka brothers aren't swapping over without no one noticing, is it even worth it?
I know.
There was that marathon. There's a set of marathon twins, weren't there, that used to break a load of marathon records, and they finally got caught because I think they got caught because what they were doing is one of them was hiding in the toilet halfway around the marathon course.
Yeah.
Then obviously the first guy was going in, then the other one was coming out. But they were dressed completely identically. They did that for a long time, and then one of them made a mistake, which is they put their watch on the wrong wrist, and someone noticed.
Basics.
Yeah,
They deserve to be
So they got
exposed
busted
like that.
These guys should be doing a similar thing. And
It's kind of like a fever dream, though, if it's the match officials, isn't it? You're thinking, weren't you telling me off like 70 yards away, like 30 seconds ago?
God, he's mobile.
and this was
I was just screaming at you over there. That's weird.
this is Girona versus Feyenoord, right? But if it was in the Conference League, they should definitely get away. No one would care.
I mean, it says they were refereeing. I mean,
Well,
is that allowed?
they're assistant referees, aren't they? So
Right, okay, yeah, I didn't realise they're assistant
Yeah.
referees. I read the headline. Vish. Coming up after this, Vinnie Jones is starring in Only Fools and Horses. We'll put this in the runner. Right, West Ham versus Ipswich, Saturday at 3 p.m. It's a massive clash at the bottom of the table, which is something that West Ham fans are probably a little bit gutted about. Liam Delap scored 2 goals last weekend. I'm really fancying this one. It's the sort of thing, obviously I'm not going to be able to watch legally. I'm going to be taking my my stepdad, that's not the right term, is it?
Father-in-law.
Father-in-law to go see.
Are you allowed to name him or not?
Yeah, Frank Champion.
Frank Champion.
Frank Champion, the
Good
great
name.
FC.
Imagine spending the Saturday with Frank Champion.
Mr. FC. One day I will put on the Football Ramble Twitter the picture of him playing football as a younger man. There's a lovely. He's wheeling away from the goal, scoring a beauty.
Who for?
I don't know, some local Essex side. And there's a man who's got his hand on the post with his head in his hands, going, he's done it again.
Wow.
Frank Champion's knocking him in for fun.
He's a West Ham fan as well, is he?
He is a West Ham fan.
You have to be with that name, don't you?
I'm going to
Exactly.
take. He's not been to a match for a couple of seasons because he let his season ticket go. So I went, right, it's his 80th. I'm going to take him to football. I've got West Ham Everton in November to take him to because it kind of fits in with his birthday. And I'm thinking, will there be much of West Ham left?
Yeah.
If they lose against Ipswich,
To be fair, you've picked a game they're likely to
exactly
win.
because that's what I thought. But then I'm thinking, well, they're playing Ipswich at the bottom of the table. Ipswich might fancy this match.
I think by the time we get yours, by the time you and Frank are going along and you're having your great day, they'll be full of renewed hope under a new manager.
It will quite simply be David Moyes.
What's going wrong
But
here
it's-
with West Ham?
Don't worry about that. Dancing and Champion, private investigators.
Yeah.
I like it. He's
Funeral directors?
He's the Danny Glover. Oh, it could be funeral director, I suppose. Yeah, he's the Danny Glover. You're the very much the Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Are you going to handcuff yourself to your father-in-law and jump off a building?
Yes, I'm going to do that. Yes, I'm going to do that. Andy, what's going on with
Possible at the Olympics.
what's going wrong with West Ham? They seem to make some pretty decent signings in the summer. Are they just waiting to gel?
It's fine because their fans are patient. It'll be fine, and it'll be fine, won't it? It'll blow over.
Yeah.
And they're all the way, if it kicks off at home, they're all the way over there.
Yeah, it was a
It takes them
long.
ages to get in.
It was a long tenure that David Moyes had, and he experienced certain amounts, huge amounts of success in one particular competition. But
Yes.
is this just taking a bit of time to sort of move over to another manager?
Yeah, and I think there needs to be an understanding of it is going to take a bit of a time because they, despite the Conference League win, they underachieved vastly in light of their resources in the last 2 seasons in the league. I think they should have done much better.
They wrapped their hand in just to do the Conference League, really, didn't they?
Yes,
Which is wild to think of.
and then I think you have to look at the fact that there's been quite a turnover of players this summer, and because of that, because of the fact that much better football is expected of Lopetegui, which I'm not sure is entirely realistic. You're expecting better football than under Moyes, but you're not expecting, Barcelona 2011. I think it's created a lot of expectation when
If that's a
really
stag
there
do,
needs to be
yes.
time for-
Yeah, that was a
there
stag
needs to
do
be
for you.
time. There
There
needs to be time.
Give the players and give the manager time. I tell you what, though, these leaks aren't helping. Apparently, Lopetegui has been surprising his players with last-minute changes to lineups and tactics.
Right. That
It's the
sounds to
very
me-
dictionary definition of a confusing way to
It's also the
behave.
dictionary definition of an excuse being made
Right.
as to why the results have been so bad and the players
Okay.
don't want to take
Yes.
credit. It's
Right.
nothing to do with us. I didn't know I was going to be playing. I'm a professional footballer. I didn't know I was going to be
I
playing.
went out the night before.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. The stuff you guys have alluded to. If you look at the fact that even before Lopetegui, West Ham have been backed. Like, I mean, the players they've signed, there've been a lot of players they've signed for a lot of money. Even since Lopetegui, they're parting with the best part of 50 million for Max Kilman, who I understand why they've done that. But Crescencio Somerville's come up from Leeds. Full Crew they brought in for quite a lot of money, who seems to be like.
Had a good summer.
Yeah, he just seems to be tailor-made for the Premier League, but of course he hasn't really hit his straps
And
yet.
of course, West Ham always break strikers.
They do. I mean, it's ridiculous amount of players they've signed in that position, 50 odd since the ownership.
You look at the quality there, and say Todibo, for example, he will settle and he will be really good.
Right. So it
But
happened.
the only question is it under Lopetegui? Can he ride out this rough period? And I think you're right to say, Pete. If they don't get a result against Ipswich, that's very, very hard to explain away. Despite the fact that I would argue that Ipswich have had, I don't know what you think, Vish, quite sensible transfer window, because I said like earlier in the season, they feel quite well set because they've signed enough players and enough good players to give themselves a fighting chance of standing up. But if they go down, they're going to have the best squad in the Championship by quite a long way. Yeah,
but it also feels like they have been slowly building towards what feels like an imminent win. Like I thought they were very good against Villa last week. I thought Calvin Phillips for the last couple of games has given them a bit of like top level slickness.
It's really nice. He's looked more himself, hasn't he?
It's interesting being in front of a crowd for the first time since Leeds, really, where people are looking forward to seing you play.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not an afterthought as you were at Man City. You're not the shouldn't you be better than this that he was at West Ham. There was a genuine appreciation of, I've got a mate who supports Ipswich, and they were saying that when Calvin Phillips arrived, there was the point where they were linked with him where they thought, all right. And there was a point where they signed him and they thought, okay, this could be really cool, actually. Yeah. And I think it's working out that way, in part because McKenna has done the right things in terms of, like, I suppose, tailoring the way the team play compared to, I suppose, you look at Southampton and you're like, lads, come on, sort yourselves out. Whereas Ipswich have gone into it with a bit of like, right, ideally we'd like to play the same way. We know that's not going to be the case. And I think Omari Hutchinson's probably a good lightning rod for that. He's someone who was basically had the run of things in the Championship. There was like a little bit, not quite the same full amount, but there was a bit of trappedness about the way he was treating the Championship. And he's come up and he's had to be a bit more industrious. And I don't think we've really seen him like really stunt, and it might be this weekend away to West Ham that, I don't know, he bangs one in or just runs game in the way that he did last season.
I would also just add that the last 3 games they've had, they really dug in against Brighton, got a point, kept Brighton out. Muric was amazing. Man of the match. Against Southampton, they battled, didn't really go for them, and they end up getting a goal and equalising in the very last minute.
And that must have felt good because they didn't really play that well against Southampton.
Exactly, it was a really off day for them. And then against Villa, they scored early. Liam Delap, who's been good, particularly in recent games. Then they went behind quite quickly, and they still battled back and got a point. If you look at the profile of the last three or four games, because I think even before that they drew against Fulham, at home. It's starting. Vish is absolutely spot on to say it doesn't feel like a Southampton. It feels like they're actually just working things out. McKenna's obviously a good coach, but he's also got the players, based on what we've seen over the last few games, really like playing for him as well. Which can
and he's had to bet in a load of new players as well.
He has, and also getting players to play for you. It sounds like a bit of a trite thing to say, but actually, it's fine getting players to play for you when you're at the top of the Championship and you're doing well every week. When you're going up against a relentless Premier League and you're not picking up the wins you're after, it's much harder to do so. And he's still been able to do that, given the fact they're still what they won. I don't think they've even won a game yet. I think they've got 4 draws and that's it.
So do you feel like it's a bit Luton-y though? Or do you think they're not going to get their wins until too late in the season?
I think they're better. I think they're better than Luton. From what I've seen, I think they're better than Luton.
Well, Andy, we didn't get your take on the midweek AFC Wimbledon loss at Newcastle, but it shouldn't have been at Newcastle. It should have been at your home stadium.
It should have been.
Did you go?
I did. I went with my family.
How many fans went up there?
Weren't you?
There was at a week's notice, with how much it costs, and days off work and all the rest of it, got over 1,500.
That's brilliant.
which is really.
And were you with as Vish says? Were you with the Wimbledon fans?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, okay.
I was. I went with my family, and it was a really lovely experience. And Newcastle fans as well have been like really nice on the whole about the whole things. Although I did see one comment online about, we put money in their fund and we hosted the game and they sung about how shit we were. It's like, welcome to football. What can I say?
If you don't like that, you're going to hate the other guys.
Oh my God.
Speaking of taking the 1,500 people, which is amazing, I would also say, credit to Newcastle fans again. For them, it's a late organised game too. Yes. It's against AFC Wimbledon, not the most glamorous of teams in the League Cup. 51,000 fans there.
But it's
crazy.
It's a hot ticket. I think since in the last 3 years, there's not been a point since Prime Keegan the first time in the mid to late 90s that people have been so excited. Yeah. People would do anything to get a ticket. So
I love that Fabian Schär's on penalties as well. That is class. That's like old school stuff. Right? That is, yeah.
What do you think of the new Newcastle big striker? Is he Amiobi-esque? That's what I said in React.
Well, it's funny. I spoke to.
Is this Osula you're talking about?
Yeah, I spoke to Curtis Davis about him a while ago, and he was with him at Sheffield United. And he said, "Look, he's got everything
apart from the shooting."
Yeah.
I mean, he did have one of about I think 3 shots on target.
Yeah.
So we can't knock him too much.
Isn't Curtis Davis a lovely fella as well? He's like the nicest guy.
Yeah,
in the world.
really nice.
He's the nicest guy.
Well, speaking of AFCs, Wimbledon, to be exact, former Wimbledon man Vinnie Jones is set to star in Only Fools and Horses, the musical.
I like this.
I don't know. As I said, I don't know who put this in the runner.
Is this you putting all the things you hate in the same room?
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you do the casting?
How would you feel like to the US listeners and people who live abroad? How would you explain Only Fools and Horses to that kind of demographic?
So Only Fools and Horses is a famous sitcom in the UK about a couple of brothers who are kind of wheeler-dealer, nearly men living in a council estate in South London who think that, with a bit of luck, they're going to become millionaires. This time next year we'll be millionaires. Yeah. And then it became massive. It's not actually that funny. But
it's a piece of shit.
But it's been so popular.
It's How I Met Your Mother for the mumps and rubella generation, isn't it?
Yeah, why are you asking me how to describe it then when you can just describe it like that? But what's happened is it's been consistently voted the most popular sitcom in the UK, right? And it's got a musical in the West End, which apparently is quite good. Had Paul Whitehouse in it, who we all love.
Yeah, Paul Whitehouse. I didn't realise
he's still in it.
Yeah, he's still in it.
Okay.
That's mad.
He's a legend, and I love going to see musicals, so I'm all for it. And I also love Vinnie Jones because have you seen The Gentleman?
Yeah,
he's fucking great in that.
He's good in that. Yeah.
He's really good in that.
Oh, so he turns up. He's back with who's the director who did the job?
Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
Guy Ritchie.
So
Oh,
he plays the gamekeeper kind of groundsman at this massive stately home.
All right, it's time for this.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
He doesn't know what it means. Last week, Luke Big Martin Vish in one of the greatest games of Jack's Encyclopedia the Football Ramble has ever seen.
It was good.
It was
really good.
Ding dong.
Yeah.
Not administered by me. That's why it was so good.
It was a war.
Yeah.
It was an absolute war.
I actually, for this week's game, I am champing at the bit to get involved myself, right? And I sort of go, maybe because these guys, they're a bit rubbish sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have a go.
He's looking at you, Andy.
So I sent the questions to Sarah.
Yeah.
And she did a little Jack's Encyclopedia in bed last night.
Frank
So that's
Champion
what we
involved?
got up to.
Oh, in bed, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that after you said he was in bed last night. Sorry.
And
how'd you get on?
The first 2 rounds terrible. Third one better.
Okay.
All right.
So maybe have you lined up next week then?
Yeah.
For what it's worth, Pete, at Ramble Live, only one of us, when they came on stage, had "You're shit at Jack's Encyclopedia" shouted at that. It wasn't you.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Pete, so what you're trying to say is if we line up a bed in the studio,
Yes.
and you can relax, you might do all right.
It'd be like John Lennon.
Yeah.
John Lennon's little bed show.
You are much more of a dickhead than John Lennon, and that is saying something.
I do
John
I do the
Lennon's
funny
little
walk.
bed show.
John Lennon's little bed show, hasn't it? I don't know what he was up to. Right, let's kick things off with you, Lukey Moore, if that's all right for the first round. Every player signed by Erik ten Hag at Manchester United, including loan signings and free transfers. Every player signed by Erik ten Hag at Man United, including loan signings and free transfers.
Okay.
All right, then.
Lenny Yoro.
Lenny Yoro.
Most recent, one of the
He's
most
in
recent ones.
Vish.
Alessandro Martinez.
Correct.
Casemiro.
Correct.
Delict.
Yes.
Anthony.
Very nice to hear his name.
Donny van der Beek.
It was before Andy.
Absolutely Ajaxed myself.
Andy
Yeah.
van der Brassel.
Esteban Brandy Brassel.
Alto Binder.
In there, Luke. Thank you.
Mazraoui.
Good one.
I like it.
Good one. I think they signed. I think it's Jack Butland. Didn't Jack Butland come in?
They did sign Jack Butland. Well done.
Mason Mount.
Oh, very good.
Mm.
I'm going up against the Man United fans. It's tough.
You're doing well, though.
Yeah. I don't think I dreamt this. Martin Dubravka? Didn't he come in?
He did.
He did, yeah.
Good
online.
stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Lukey.
I'm out now, Vish, so you crack on.
Wout Weghorst.
Very nice.
Correct.
Who could forget him?
You're up.
Lisandro Martinez?
I've already said that.
Already said
Ah,
that.
there you go.
Oh, unlucky.
I was out.
You're out.
You started, so Vish has got to get another one.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny Evans.
Fucking Johnny
Man
Evans.
United fan, isn't he? Man United fan.
Yeah.
You know.
Have a Man United fan on the quiz. Just name Man United players. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it works with
that's what they
Marcus
do.
in England, doesn't it?
No, I'm against that as well. I'm against that as well.
Could have had
and I
Andre-
don't want to pump you round because I'll fuck that up.
Could have had Andre Onana. You could have had Christian Eriksen, of course.
I
Joshua
thought about going Ericsson, yeah.
Well, you should have done it.
Xerxes as well.
Xerxes as well, yeah. Agate, Sabitzer, you had Hoyland there, Region, Amrabat, and Malasia.
Fucking, that's annoying. There's loads in there.
Good
I've got.
stuff.
Yeah.
All right, next round. I think you did very well, though, Lukey.
Thank you, mate.
You ran him close. Right, Vish, it's the second round. You're going to start, if that's all right. Crystal Palace's top goal scorers in each season since the year 2000. Crystal Palace's top goal scorers in each season since the year 2000. All over the fucking place. This.
Tough one, this.
Mateta.
Oh, you should let Andy get that.
Jean-Philippe Mateta is in the list.
Wilf Zaha.
Got to be.
Yep, twice.
Christian Benteke.
Yes.
Benteke's.
Andy Johnson.
Very good. That's a great
good.
answer. I had
4
that written-
times.
I had that written down.
Lovely.
Andy's going home here. He's going home. You can
I
tell.
think I am.
He's wet his pants.
Conor Wickham.
Can't be. Never scored a fucking goal, did he?
Forward player. What can you do?
Panicked.
Jordan Ayew?
He's in there.
Lovely
He's in
stuff.
That was a flyer. That was a
That's
flyer.
lovely stuff.
That must have been a season where he didn't score any goals.
With 8.
yeah, right, yeah. Vish went first, right?
Dougie Friedman.
Oh, 2000. Is that not a bit too early?
I don't know.
It is.
So I've got to get one.
You gotta
Yeah.
get one.
Oh, fuck. I've got nothing. Got absolutely nothing.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline has been written.
No.
Desperately unlucky.
So we
Do
go
we
back
go
in.
again?
Go
We go back in?
We go back in for one more
sounds
round.
like he's got one.
Clinton Morrison.
Oh.
He did it 4 times, guys.
Did he really?
Fucking hell.
He did it 4 times.
God, that's brilliant, Vish. Well done, mate.
Yeah.
That's absolutely superb. That's Susan Perb.
Is Andy not back in? Because
No,
it's
he
just
went
the
out
last
before.
bit?
He went out
right.
before.
I went
First,
out
right,
and
okay.
then I got
Yeah.
one wrong and then he got one right.
Right.
Do you want to ask any more rules things? While I'm
No,
thinking?
no, come on.
I thought you don't care. I thought your whole thing is you're
No,
a heel.
but
You don't care.
But it's all right when funny when he loses. Do it.
Well, what happens when a man and a woman have sex? Can someone tell me?
In a bed.
Oh, I've got one. Luka Milivojevic.
He did it twice.
He's got- took pens, took pens.
He took
Good,
pens. He
Fuck,
took
I knew it was
pens.
in there somewhere. Back at you, Vitushan.
Come on, Vish.
Press the button.
No, hold on. How long did he
No.
have?
Give
Milivojevic.
us some space.
Ooh,
Come on.
maybe Yannick Bolasie.
Okay, so if I get one, I've won.
If you get
Yeah.
one,
This
you've
point.
won. You've won.
I'm
You've won.
just going to go for Eberechi Eze. Surely.
Do you think you're right?
Because I think it's post Zaha. You must have been.
Do you think you're right?
Because Mateta, the season before, it must have been. The last season was Mateta, season before Eberechi Eze. Yes!
Well done, Lokimo.
Don't you shake your head at me, Brassel. You're already out for a reason.
You could have had.
That I fought tooth and nail for that.
You could have had Darren Ambrose. He did it twice.
Ambrose,
But
yes.
I'm not mentioning his name on principle.
Dwight Gale 3 times.
Gale,
3
yeah.
times, Gale. Glenn Murray, James Vaughan,
Glenn Murray.
and
Oh.
your friend and mine. It's Chef Kikuki.
Oh,
Yay.
wow.
All right.
Love to have got that.
Final round.
I'm not giving this title out without a fight, Vish.
Make it decent, Andy.
10
Make
minutes
it
for one
decent.
answer.
Take us to a
That's what it
tiebreaker.
takes,
for
I'll do
crying
it.
out loud. All right. Premier League teams that Mo Salah has scored 5 or more goals against in the
This is
Premier League.
fucking-
Premier
this is
League
a
teams.
crapshoot.
Premier
This is
League
a
teams
guessing
that
game.
Mo Salah has scored 5 or more goals against. All goals have to have gone in the Premier League. All right.
This is a guessing game, Andy.
It's a guessing game, Andy. You could
Man
do
United.
this. Man United.
Gotta be.
That's my
In
answer.
there. It feels real, doesn't it?
Just by virtue of the fact he would have played them. Oh, did you say Premier League only?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Brentford?
Yes.
Everton.
Gotta be.
Yep.
Tottenham.
He's done it.
Arsenal. Scoring a few against Arsenal.
Yeah. I think we'll go deep into this one.
Yeah.
Fulham.
That's great
Unlucky.
news for me, that.
Very unlucky.
Great news.
It didn't sound right.
So you're out because you went last in this round. You're out.
Yeah.
West Ham.
West Ham United are in there.
I'm basically just guessing teams.
Yeah. Somehow that's how it pans out sometimes.
Brighton.
Manchester City.
No way. Surely not.
I didn't think so.
He bloody has.
Bloody yeah. Well done,
Bloody
Andy.
has, you know.
He needs to shape up against Fulham.
He does. It's surprising that.
So maybe they've been in and out, haven't they?
Sheffield United. Andy wins. It's one each.
Wow.
Andy, well
Tie-
done.
Oh, wow. Tiebreaker.
Well done,
Yeah,
mate.
proper
Straight in the
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker. Could have had, I mean, again, bit of a crapshoot this one, but Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Leeds United, Newcastle United, Southampton, Watford, and Wolves. Leeds were
He's
on
been
it.
here for 2
Leeds, he
seasons.
went hog
He should have
wild
been
on
ashamed of
Leeds.
himself not getting him against Sheffield United.
4 matches, lordy. All right, here's the tiebreaker. Luke, we'll start with you. Every Manchester United number 7 in the Premier League era. Every Manchester United number 7
Oh, another Man United one. Good.
in the Premier League era.
It's a joke. That's an absolute joke. Who's done this?
Who's done this to you?
2 Man United rounds in one fucking game.
Hey, watch it.
So am
All
I
right?
first?
Is Luke
Yes,
leading us
you're
on again?
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did say that, but you're too angry.
I was angry. I am angry.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it because otherwise Andy will take it. Memphis.
Motherfucker.
Tactics. Come on, Vish. Reel them all off.
David Beckham.
Well done. Well done. I hope you're happy.
Can I have Eric Cantona, please?
You can have Eric Cantona, yeah.
Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yes.
Michael Owen.
Yep.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Famously.
Darren Fletcher.
Fucking hell, Andy.
Oh, get fucked, Andy.
What?
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 What? What?
I'm going to lose this, but
Come
I'm
on,
going to go
Lukey.
down fighting. Mason Mount.
Correct.
Current 7,
Well
right?
done. Nice.
Antonio Valencia.
Correct.
I've got no hope. I've just got
Come
no
on.
chance.
Come
I
on.
think I'm done though.
You got
That's all
4
you're-
left.
That's all you're going to need. That's all
You
you're
got
going
4
to need.
left.
Premier League era. Andrzej Kanchelskis.
Wasn't he a 4? For some reason, in my head, he was a 4.
So Vish needs to get
Like
one.
Brucey, wasn't it?
Vish needs to get one.
Come on, Vish.
This is another epic battle, by the way.
Yeah, it's good
Isn't it?
stuff.
I genuinely think I think I'm completely out. Yeah.
He's not going to name one. Fucking
Right.
press the button.
All right.
Torres to give
Just sit here waiting for him to do whatever he wants about the team he supports.
the headline has been written.
Robson.
Oh, who? First name.
Brian Robson.
It's right, isn't it? It's good. Yeah,
It's good
it's
stuff.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
So I've-
Vish.
so
that
I've-
was amazing.
So I've got to go.
No,
okay.
you weren't first. I won.
Yeah, you won.
Oh, fucking hell!
Yeah.
Well done,
I
Vish.
thought he pressed the button.
I'm happy for Brian Robson to be the winning answer,
Yeah,
to be
it's good
fair.
stuff.
That's decent.
I would not have accepted Darren Ambrose being the winning answer. Shit! Well done, Visher.
Imagine winning on a Shefki Cookie. Lovely.
Imagine losing on that. Fuck.
You could have had. You only had 3. You only
Imagine the
had
tweets I would have got
3.
saying, but you didn't mention Brian Robson.
I would have guessed next Lee Sharp, but that would have been right.
No, wrong.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Alexis Sanchez. You could have had.
Oh, God.
yeah.
Angel Di Maria.
Yeah.
Oh,
How soon we missed him. Edison Cavani as well.
Okay. They were the only
yeah.
others, yeah? Okay.
Well, that's the only 3 you missed. I think you did very well in that round.
So Vish has
Not being
won
a
the
Man
title
United
with
fan.
2 Man United
Yeah.
questions. You happy with that, Vish, are you?
yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Again, how many? I would love to see how many England questions. I mean, that was. 2 Man United
Too much.
questions
I mean,
in
the
one.
tiebreak. You don't always get to the tiebreak. That's probably been sitting around for a
Yeah,
few weeks.
fair.
to be
Yeah,
honest.
fair.
I mean,
I'm looking forward to the one on Wimbledon number 29s next week.
Vish can do it under pressure as well. You know, he's got his uncle with a flick knife.
True.
Does anyone know the context of that? By the
no.
way?
It's something we
Okay,
talked
we'll leave
about
it-
pre-show.
Leave it there.
Yeah.
My
I
uncle
mean,
used to threaten me with a penknife when I was misbehaving.
Context is that a flick knife is a very good motivational tool.
Yeah.
right?
It is. Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.